All right, welcome to our second video on the CAD for Robotics video series. We are going to, in this video, we are going to build off what we did last time. Last time we started importing parts from the existing parts library. We are going to we're going to ultimately end up building our full assembly here, our full V2 chassis. Now we're going to follow along the steps in here, recreating it digitally. So next up in our task, last time we started inserting some parts. We pulled in a couple parts, a couple dual blocks, a couple U-channels. Now we're going to start fitting those two together. So, okay, we should talk a little about what it means to kind of fit these together. I want to attach these two parts together. When we deal with shapes, when we deal with objects, we have different ways that we can move them, or different ways that the two pieces can move in relation to one another. These are called degrees of freedom. If we open up our OneNote and we look in the CAD folder, and we'll see where this is at for you guys, there should be a file called Freedom of Degrees and Mates. These are the different ways that we can move an object. We can move it up, we can move it down, we can move it forward. Let me just try and get this on screen here. One second. So we move our object up, down, forward, back, left, right. But then, so those are 3 degrees of freedom, 3 ways that we can move our object. We can also rotate them in different sides. So we can do a roll if we're rotating along the top, do a yaw if we're rotating from left to right, or we can do a pitch if we're rotating forward and backwards. If we look in our chassis, we can see that, like, if I grab one of these pieces, you should see all these different arrows. These arrows are telling me like how I could move this piece. I can move it left and right. I can move it up and down. It depends a little bit on what my axis is. Let's see. If we look at it from the top. So in that case, if this is from the top, then this is my Y movement. This is my X movement, left and right, or up and down. Those are 3 degrees of freedom for this. We can also, if we grab this piece, we can also grab it and rotate it. So that is a different type of movement that we can do. So it's like how we can arrange 2 parts in relation to one another. There are multiple degrees of freedom for how we can orient these. Okay, so we have a U-channel here. It's a 9-hole U-channel. We have some dual blocks. Our goal in technical terms is to reduce the degrees of freedom between the dual block and the U-channel. Reduce the degrees of freedom to 0. What basically that means is like we want these 2 things to be stuck together. Let's see, if we look over here, this is what we got. Looks something like this. We want to kind of recreate this in OnShape. You can see there's like kind of like a special little alignment here of how these pieces have to go together. But really what I want to do is I want to stick the dual block to the side of this piece of, to the U-channel. Technical terms, I'd be reducing the degrees of freedom to 0. We have a whole bunch of options for doing this. We have all these different mates. So mates in OnShape are ways of reducing degrees of freedom between 2 objects in different ways. There's a whole bunch of different mates that we have. The one that we'll use most commonly is called the fasten mate. We can also have something like the planar mate, the cylindrical mate. I think these are the 3 that I use most commonly, although there are other ones that can also be helpful. It's reducing how the 2 objects can move relative to one another. Let's see. Let me just show you one as an example. We could do like a planar mate. So a planar mate is going to take 2 sides of our objects and it's going to put them in the same plane. So if you think about visually, this might look like if you had a sheet of paper, if they have a planar mate, then they are both going to be kind of stuck onto the sheet of paper. They can move relative to one another, but they can't move in this. They can't separate in this direction. We can rotate in like here, but we can't rotate separately. So let me just show you this in operation. This is not the mate we're going to use, but it kind of gets into the idea of degrees of freedom. We select the bottom side here. We select the top of this U-channel here. And we can see that these 2 are now, we moved the dual block over to the U-channel. And if we look along the edge here, we can see that they're totally sharing like a single flat sheet of paper, if you want to think about it like that. If I try and now grab this object, I can move it side to side because that still keeps a planar relationship. But if I try and move this down, the whole piece will move together because they are locked together in one plane. So things that I can do, I can slide this in this direction. That doesn't violate the planar mate. I can slide it in this direction. That does not violate the planar mate. Let's see, things I can't do. If I try and rotate in this direction, right, the whole piece is going to move with it because that's how we're going to kind of keep the mate happy, I guess, if we want to think about it like that. We could rotate in this direction. Oh wait, which one do I have? Looking at it from the wrong side. It'd be this one. I can grab this one and rotate. That's fine because we're still staying on the same plane. But we've reduced the degrees of freedom between our dual block and our U-channel. So we'll work with more mates as we go along. But to begin with, the most common one that we're going to use is called the fasten mate. The fasten mate is unlike the planar mate, which reduces some degrees of freedom but leaves others. The fasten mate reduces all. It's like kind of like super glue. We're going to super glue the two things together, and they're going to be perfectly locked together. So, for example, in this one, what I really want to do is if I want to lock these two pieces together, I need to choose geometry on both the objects that kind of will align, that I'm hoping will align once I put the piece together, once I put the object together. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to use my screw holes over here. I'm going to use this little threaded part. I want to match this circle up with this spot right here. It's a little bit hard when you're first getting started with it. It's like thinking visually, and that's hopefully a skill we're going to develop as we go. But trying to visualize like what two parts should get matched together. So we can do, one thing we can do is we just hit a fasten mate and then choose the two things that we want to be connected. So in here I could choose this circle here, and then I could choose like this circle right here. All right, so this is going to get into a really common happening with this, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. So this tried to match those two up, but unfortunately, it didn't really align the two parts that we want to be aligned. They kind of melded together into some sort of weird amorphous blob. Oh, you know what? Maybe also part of the problem is I still have this planar mate on. I'm going to delete that one. I don't want that planar mate to still be there. That might have been the issue, but I think there might be another issue too. So let's try and go back into my fasten mate, select this. So I guess that's a key point there is like if you have more than one mate, it's going to try and resolve both of them, and it's going to try and make both of them happy, and sometimes that's impossible because one might be in conflict with the other. Let's see, I'm going to try and choose this. What I really want to see here is when I do my fasten, I want that, you see that little kind of, I don't know, I think it looks like it's got that blue arrow coming off, and then it's like, I don't know, maybe like an open Pac-Man mouth. That is the mate. That is like the spot that we are going to, it's going to be the center of my mate. So when I put this piece together, I really want that center to be there. And then when I select my piece over here, let's see, I think I got this right. I think it should be this circle right here. See how that mate is right in the center? It's kind of that blue line and an open kind of Pac-Man mouth. We select on there. Ooh, pretty good. We've mated those two circles together. But you might notice they're still kind of like they're fused together in a way. So there's a couple things I can do on here. I like the way those mated together, but I do need to flip sides. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip the primary axis. That's going to flip the piece over. And now we can see it's kind of like, now it's looking good. The two sides are kind of mated together. They're forming one side just the way I want it. I should be able to look down this, look through this U-channel, and I can see directly through to the other side. I don't see anything blocking the way. That means my threads are perfectly aligned there. The next step I need to do is I can also, so great, the holes are lined up, but it's not quite in the right plane. I need to rotate it around a little bit. If I do reorient second axis, I can rotate this around until it's perfectly stuck together. I hit check, and I'm going to add a mate down in here. You can see the list of all the mates that we have so far. It looks like just one. And now these two things are stuck together. So let me grab this thing. Now if I try and drag one of these pieces, they're both going to come together. They are now totally fixed together. All the degrees of freedom have gone from these two. If we try and rotate anything, everything, they're going to be just totally fixed together, which is what we want. We want to reduce the degrees of freedom between the two objects to be 0. We're going to repeat the same process. I'm going to go grab this thing, drag it over. I'm going to do a little bit of repetition here. I'll do one more, but if you feel like you got it, this is just going to be a repeat of what I did last time. But so you can stop the video now if you want. I'm going to continue another video about putting these pieces together, making some sub-assemblies next. So let's go through here, but for those of you who are still sticking around, we can go into this, and we're going to try that same thing. I'm going to fasten. What I found with a fasten mate is just, it can be really easy to grab the wrong thing. So like right here, it looks like I'm grabbing the right circle, but you can see that my mate connector is not in the right spot. It's like kind of sitting along the thread. I want it to be right in the middle of that circle. So I need to move this around until I get the correct spot. I think I just accidentally hit my refresh button. So let's go back into that. So I'm going to take my fasten mate, and let's see. We really got to think about like kind of what side do we want where. So I think this is just kind of coming from some practice here, but I think it should be this side. Again, like that is not the right spot for my mate connector. I might need to move around this circle a little bit. Oh, it's right in the center, just where I want it. So I'm going to click that as one fasten. And then my other side, I think, I just have to kind of picture how this is going to work. I think it might be this one down here. Let's see. Oh, again, we got this flip, so we got to flip that over there. Let's take a look. That looks about right. So again, we might see something like this. You can see if like they're kind of melded together. We might have gotten those lines, we might have gotten those circles exactly lined up, but we just need to flip it. Flip what side is kind of getting stuck there. If we hit check, we get that. We have these two pieces in there. So I'm going to do the other two off camera, and then we'll move on to the next one. So we have to repeat, because again, you have to repeat these dual blocks for all, repeat this for all 4 of them.